Hi there, Scott Keyser here, the writing guy, speaking to you from a chilly London on the morning of Wednesday, the 14th of February, Valentine's Day. So I'm going to speak to you about some of the things I love about the English language, which is what I work in and what a lot of us work in. So in no particular order, one of the things I love about the English language is its sheer variety. And we have three linguistic sources or roots to thank for that: Germanic, Latin, and Greek. So the Germanic influence, and most linguists actually agree that English is fundamentally a Germanic language, comes from the invasion of the Germanic tribes, the Angles and the Saxons and the Vikings, in I think it was the 5th century, after the Roman legions had left this sceptred isle. And we have a lot of very basic sort of words from German or Germanic origins. So if you look at family relationships, father, Vater is German, mother, Mutter, brother, Bruder, son, Sohn. Very strong Germanic roots to our language. Then in Latin, our language is riddled with Latin words, and I work a lot with lawyers, and they tend to use a lot of Latinate language, and I often sort of rail against the ate family, so the verbs ending in ate, of which there are many, like exonerate, exacerbate, decimate, obliterate, annihilate, donate. They're all from Latin, and they tend to be longer words. And then we have the strong Greek influence. So simple words, a word like biology is from the Greek. Bios is Greek for life, and ology, as I'm sure you know, is the study of. So it's the study of life. So I'm a lover of language and words, and I might, in a more pompous moment, refer to myself as a philologist. Philo just means to love or like, and logist is from logos, meaning word. So I'm just a lover of words and language. So it's a fancy word for what is really quite a simple concept. So three very, what would I say, profound influences on our language: Latin, Greek, and Germanic. But we are fundamentally a Germanic language. And then if you look at, obviously Brexit is very topical at the moment, and if you look at the word where the word Britain comes from, it was the Romans, obviously speaking Latin, who named us Britannia, and that's where the word Britain comes from. But actually, its provenance goes even further back than that. It goes back to 4th century BC Greece, because the Greeks referred to the inhabitants of the British Isles as the Prytanoi, with a P rather than the B, and Prytanoi meant tattooed people. So maybe when you see somebody with a tattoo all over their neck or their face, or a sleeve tattoo or whatever it may be, or down their legs, maybe that's harking back to our British origins. What else do I love about the English language? Well, of course, you can't really get away with talking about English without mentioning William, of course, the William Shakespeare, who was certainly one of, if not the greatest writers that have ever lived, in terms of his plays, but also his poems and his sonnets. And of course, on Valentine's Day, he wrote about love, particularly in Romeo and Juliet. Some really stunning words and phrases and concepts as well. But what I was going to say about Shakespeare, of course, one of his greatest gifts to the English language is just the sheer number of new words and phrases that he invented. So, if you refer to, you're probably familiar with the phrase green-eyed jealousy. If you use that phrase, you're quoting Shakespeare. If you refer to somebody as a blinking idiot, then you're quoting Shakespeare. If you refer to somebody as that stony-hearted villain, then you're quoting Shakespeare. If you use the phrase at one fell swoop, you're quoting Shakespeare. And that's an interesting use of language as well, because fell, I've just discovered, comes from the Old Norse word meaning cruel. So at one cruel stroke, something bad has happened, and we use the word felon, although it's been appropriated mainly by the Americans, but fell means cruel originally. So Shakespeare contributed enormously to the words and phrases and the language that we use in the 21st century. It's absolutely amazing, and we owe him a huge debt of gratitude. So anyway, a few random thoughts really on Valentine's Day about what I love about the English language, and in fitting fashion, I'm going to end with a quote from Romeo and Juliet, and I may need to refer to my notes to do this. Good night, good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow, that I shall say good night till it be morrow.